cycle, adding one player who kind of puts you over the top. Houston is the first name a lot of people mention. And as we wake up this morning, don't look now, the Lakers are in the 3 spot in the West. The Rockets, who have a nice cushion, do have the toughest remaining schedule, and that includes a game at the Lakers next Friday. ESPN Bet, by the way, has the Lakers with the 4th shortest odds to win the NBA championship. And I will tell you something, Marcus Morris. In our meeting this morning, so just a little behind the scenes, right? We got a 6 o'clock in the morning meeting here. Everyone's kind of talking. We're talking through some ideas, bouncing stuff, throwing up against the wall, see what sticks. You said something that no one has said since they got Luka. Not one person has said what you said this morning, and that is you think the Lakers are going to win the title this year.
I do think the Lakers are going to win the title, right? You had Luka Doncic that's been there, that's almost carried Dallas to the finals last year. You add LeBron James, you add these core role players that know how to win, right? You have the smartest guy, the smartest IQ in the game, right? That's
LeBron, you mean?
They're not, of course. They're not even showing what they can do. I think that they're playing chess right now and not even putting anything on the table. It would be exciting to see how they mesh with LeBron James' IQ and J.J. Redick's IQ, right? To be able to go into 7-game series with any of these teams in the West, I think they're just well prepared.
You know, Shams, when you literally broke the internet, we overuse that expression, but in that case, you genuinely did with that trade. Here's how it sort of feels to me. That trade fell in the lap of Rob Pelinka, and so he made it. But it wasn't something he was thinking, oh, I can win the championship this year. It was, of course, you make the trade for Luka, and then we figure it out from there. So pretty much all of the reaction that we had here immediately was, oh, this puts them in great shape to eventually put together a championship team. This feels ahead of schedule.
Yeah, so the deal itself, you have to have relationships on both sides with a guy like Nico Harrison to make that deal. And also, everyone talks about how much they gave up. Mark Cuban even came out and said, you know, if you're going to trade Luka Doncic, you got to get 4 first-round picks. You got to get Austin Reeves. You got to get all these different things. He gave up Anthony Davis, which, again, that's a heralded talent to give up. I think people just want to poo-poo on Anthony Davis. This is one of the best players in the league on any given night. But when the Lakers made that trade, it was we're sending Anthony Davis to a win-now team. That's a win-now contender in Dallas. We want a face of the franchise for the next 10 years. That's how they viewed it. Maybe even they underestimated how quick Luka Doncic, LeBron James, and Austin Reeves, right? 3 guys that really need the ball in their hands, how they've been able to thrive together. And they've done it without a big. In a lot of ways, a guy that we know can be a starting center. Jackson Hayes has been thrust into it. He came into the year a backup 3rd-string center. He's been thrust into that starting role, and he's shined in it.
Can they do it this quickly, Alan?
Here's why they can do it this quickly, because the West normally has had contenders, experienced contenders. This is that transition time in the NBA where there's some younger teams. Again, Oklahoma City, Cleveland. Boston is the one mainstay, I think, that is still there, that has won in the past and continues to. Denver, as we see with Jokic, is still a formidable team, but not quite what they were when they won a championship. So there really is the door's open if there was ever a year to do it, if you could take advantage, as we talked about. If there's a weakness to a great team like the Thunder, it is the lack of experience. It's the one thing that the Lakers have. They have tons of experience when it comes to LeBron and Luka and what they've done. So the door might be open short term for them to get it done this year. That's why there is a chance.
They play the Warriors tonight, by the way. Yesterday, that was a first-round matchup setup. As of this morning, it isn't because the Lakers have moved up. You never know where that winds up. LeBron and Luka are one thing. How about Steph and playoff Jimmy? How real are they as a contender this year?
Definitely real. If you have any team that has Steph Curry on it, is a real contender, right? And you add playoff Jimmy with Draymond, right? They have the pieces. Playoff Jimmy gets a chance to play on a team with guys that's done it before, right? He gets a chance to be on that stage. Draymond, the emotional leader. 2nd in defense player of the year, maybe 3rd, right? So you don't really see a drop down. Any team that goes up against Golden State is going to have trouble. Any team.
They're sort of the old heads. Here we were this morning having a generational conversation. You got OKC, super young. You got Houston, super young, ridiculously talented. Is it too soon for those teams? And then you got Steph in one place, and you got LeBron in another place, and you got, the
Expendables.
Don't overlook Kawhi. Kawhi, look, I mean, if I had $1 for every time I said, if Kawhi Leonard is healthy, then they could do this, then I would be a very rich man. But the reality is the Clippers are a team, when you watch them when they are whole, which happens like the Halley's Comet. But if they're healthy in the playoffs, the Clippers are a team to be reckoned with.
We're talking about two guys, Jimmy Butler and Kawhi Leonard, who Marcus has firsthand experience with. They turn it on when the playoffs start, right? Like when they're healthy and going. And we've seen Kawhi Leonard. He started a little slow when he got back. Minutes restriction, 16, 17 points a game. What is he averaging in the last, 15, 25, 7 and 4 assists?
It's his time.
It's his time now. And same with Jimmy Butler, 18 and 2 with him and Steph.
And James Harden, let's not sleep on how well he's played this year. That's almost
He's
gone
been the
under
rock.
the radar.
He's been the rock and the anchor there.
And the other guys, Norm Powell actually leads the team in scoring, right? Zubac. Double machine. He's
they have
a
great
career
coaching.
year.
So let me just wrap it up with this. You're telling me you're a believer, because we have the Warriors on the screen there, and that's obviously, I keep using this word. I don't know if this is the right way to describe it, but sort of the old seasoned group in the West and then the young guns in the West. You're telling me you're buying into the old guys. It'll be one of those teams that comes out of the West this year.
Definitely, I'm buying into that. And I love the word old guys, right? I love that word because in the playoff, old guys get it done. When you look at experience, yes, the Boston Celtics aren't old guys, but their experiences as older players, right? They've been there multiple times. Old guys get it done, and you need them.
Okay, we'll see if that's what winds up happening. In the meantime, this is your first day with us here. I'm going to introduce you to something that we call That. Hour number 2 coming your way, live as always, above the Heineken River Deck at Pier 17. We only clap in the first one, but that's...
I'm learning. I'm
love having Shams here. Alan Hahn is with us, and Marcus Morris is with us for the first time. Awesome. Again, the whole twin thing. We got you, we got J-Mac here. People always, because my wife is an identical twin, people always ask the same question. Do you ever play tricks on anyone? Do you ever fool anyone? Do you ever do that sort of thing? They always do that.
We try to.
Your rookie season, Summer League, I was working for NBA TV. I interviewed both of you after the game, and you both wouldn't tell me who's who. And I didn't know what to ask.
Hey, when we were younger, we looked a lot more alike than we do now, right? So it was a lot easier back then. Now we kind of grown into our differences. But hey, man, we still got some tricks.
It's great to have you here. Terrific first hour. Let's roll into hour number 2 with the best team in the sport, the Oklahoma City Thunder, doing it again last night in a matchup against the Pistons. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they call him SGA, I call him MVP, taking on Cade Cunningham and company. Didn't shoot it particularly well last night, Allen, just 10 of 26, but the Thunder always finding different ways.
They do, and keep in mind, too, this Pistons team played hard, didn't have Cade Cunningham, but there was just too much SGA, too much depth for Oklahoma City.
Absolutely, SGA getting it done, and then when they need a bucket from somewhere else, how about in the fourth quarter, Lou Dort getting the... When Lou Dort is getting this role, you know it's going to be your night.
Friendly bounce.
14 points for him, Thunder a 9-point lead, and then it's SGA working it in the painted area. He would score 33, and the Thunder would go on to win it by 16. That's their 11th consecutive win. They just continue to roll. If the Thunder make it to the NBA Finals, consider this a good omen. They finished the regular season 29-1 against the Eastern Conference. The only loss was to the Cavs, who have won 61 games. Those 29 wins came by an average of 18 points. And now I'm going to say something you didn't already know but should. The Oklahoma City Thunder of 2024-25 are having one of the greatest seasons in the history of the NBA. That's not an opinion. It is a statement of fact, and stating it is probably long overdue. Here's the deal. OKC has played 76 games. They've outscored their opponents by 1,018 points. In the 79-year history of the NBA, do you know how many teams finished with a point differential of plus 1,000? 3. And every one of them is basketball royalty. They are the 70-71 Bucks. The team was led by league MVP Lou Alcindor. The following year, the 71-72 Lakers. They won 69 games. They were led by Wilt Chamberlain and Jerry West. And then, of course, the legendary 95-96 Bulls. They won 72 games, and they had the league MVP in Michael Jordan. All 3 of those teams won the title in those years, by the way, and they lost a combined 8 playoff games along the way. Now, this year's Thunder feature the likely MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who not only leads the league in scoring, but as of last night, he has 20 points in 69 straight games. That ties Michael Jordan's record for the most since the merger. OKC is on pace to win 69 games. They lead the league in every meaningful defensive category. And get this, they are going to be the second youngest team to be a top seed since they began seeding. The only younger one was themselves last year. So what I'm saying is get used to this now and into the future. what we are seeing is not merely the best team in basketball, it is also, quite possibly, one that we will be talking about for years and just maybe decades to come. That's who we're talking about when we're talking about the OKC Thunder. Shams, your thoughts on this team, what they are accomplishing, and what they're capable of.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was the biggest acquisition that this organization has made over the last how many ever years. But to me, two moves really set up what we're seeing right now. One was drafting Josh Giddey 3.5, 4 years ago. That allowed them to go get Alex Caruso. You draft well, you develop players, and then you either keep them and you homegrown them, or you figure out other avenues to get more out of them. And they were able to do that with Alex Caruso. He's been a big key cog. And then another move, last trade deadline that went under the radar. They traded 3 contracts with multiple years for an expiring contract in Gordon Hayward, a $30 million deal. And everyone thought Gordon Hayward was going to be this massive addition on the court. But his value to the Thunder actually came with his expiring contract. That allowed them, after they shipped out multiple salaried players, they were able to use his expiring contract to go get Isaiah Hartenstein. That's how you develop. That's how you grow and you add to the team. And yet they still have a ton of draft capital if they ever wanted to make a big move.
That's a franchise that is, how many times have they reinvented themselves since Kevin Durant left? Or even if you look back at that era of that big three, they've really been extremely well run. They need a championship to sort of put the cherry on the sundae. And maybe that's the important point here, Marcus, because I covered those 95, 96 Bulls. And they had a mantra that they said, I mean, I heard them say it literally every day. It don't mean a thing if you don't get the ring. And that's what it's about for this OKC team. Are they your pick to win the championship?
No, they can't be my pick. First of all, the others, right? I call them super others. Can they be super in the playoffs? Can they take their play up? We know what SGA is going to do. We know what he's going to give. But can the guys around him elevate their game to get them to the finals?
And you don't believe they can?
I don't.
You believe in the old heads. You're still believing in LeBron.
Yeah.
You're still believing in Steph. You're still believing in Jimmy Butler. You're believing in that generation of player here?
I am, because the old heads are getting better, right? They're not going down.
Yeah,
this team, what this team have done in the regular season is very impressive with such a young core, right? But the old heads are seasoned vets. They know when to turn it on. They know when to turn it off. This is something that we have to allow OKC to grow into, right? What they're doing is very impressive, but it's another level of basketball.
Is OKC your pick in the West?
It is. But I'm going to say this, though. Again, with great power comes great responsibility. And when you win as many games and win as easily as it looks like they win in the regular season, the expectations now rise to the point where this is what we're talking about. So their expectation is win the championship, which means if they don't, it's a failure, right? And so when does that pressure on them, which they didn't have last year, they haven't had yet, this is their first real experience in pressure. The end of a long regular season when you're winning like they are, there's no pressure right now. First round, probably won't be any pressure. But the pressure starts coming in the second round, especially if you start running into the old heads, right? You run into the LeBrons and Stephs. And how will they react? How will they respond? And how can they overcome the greatest expectation of all, which is to win a championship? Because that 73-win Warrior team was a great team, but they did not win the championship.
Right, and thus are not remembered.
Right.
With the way the other teams we talk about are. Everyone stay with us on the bat. We're going to have much more hoops as we go.